This is the American Roundtable. I'm Al Spry.
And I'm Will Strickler.
So glad to have you here in the Straight Talk Zone. We have a big show for you, as always. Hillary Clinton looking like she is going to kick some butt in the state of Florida. Also, we have your friend, Dwight Brewster, who's going to be coming on the show. It's a little bit offbeat. Tell me a little bit about Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight was a producer for CBS Records, and he's going to talk about Prince's death and the state of the music business now and when he was in it full time.
Also, we'll talk about the first cruise ship visit to Cuba in over 50 years. We'll be talking about money in politics and the default of Puerto Rico, which is a pretty big news as well. We'll also give you our take on all of the above. We enjoy having fun on this show, and we hope you do too. This is the American Roundtable. We'll see you in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. Talking about Hillary now in Florida with a commanding lead, according to a new poll, regardless of who the Republican candidate is. Politics is more unusual than it's ever been. We like to cover it that way. This is about the craziest race we've seen in our lifetime and even beyond that.
Yep, well, I'm waiting for Trump to take off the gloves. It seems like he's going to be the nominee. And let's see what happens in the future when he and Hillary go at it.
Well, I will say this, his brand is damaged among Hispanics, and there are quite a few Hispanics in Florida. And I don't know if he'll be able to pull himself out of that. He's really, from the very first time he announced, has talked disparagingly about certain members of the Hispanic community. Now, the Hispanic community is wide and diverse, as we all know. It's not just one structured community. But there is sympathy among Hispanics, Puerto Rican Hispanics, Cuban Hispanics, for Mexicans that Donald Trump was disparaging early on. He's pulled away from a lot of that language, but I think the damage may be done.
Well, he's been running against the other contestants. But, you know, watching TV and watching the other news services, when I see out in California the burning of American flags and waving of Mexican flags, that is not a good situation.
Well, you know, people are going to protest how they are going to protest, and it will include some images like that, but I think the larger issue is, can Trump take Florida? According to these polls, no. Clinton would wallop Trump by 49 to 36% if the election were held this week. She'd best Ted Cruz 48 to 39%, not much better. And Cruz is actually part Hispanic. So I think Clinton has it regardless. She looks like she has it in hand. I mean, according at least to this poll. Do you see that changing at all?
We're talking about the poll today, when Trump has been going against Cruz and Kasich.
Right.
Let's talk about it when it gets closer to the election, because right now he hasn't even focused on Hillary. So we don't know what's really going to happen. Let's get closer. Let's see when the gloves are off. Let's see how Trump is going to go after Hillary and Hillary after Trump. And let's talk about it in a few months.
That's a very astute observation. Both will. So I'm going to agree with you on that. Let's see how things look. But right now, Hillary is on fire in the state of Florida.
Well, she did mention that she was going to ask for Bill's help when she gets if she gets into the White House. So it's basically you're getting 2 for 1 when that happens, which may not be a good thing.
Or it may not be a bad thing, but we'll have to find out. We have Dwight Brewster, musician and music mogul extraordinaire, coming up next on the American Roundtable. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. Dwight Brewster is on the line with us. He's our entertainment correspondent. Dwight, welcome to the American Roundtable.
Great. Happy to be on the show.
It's great to have you on the show. Why don't you tell everybody about you and what brings you here today?
What brings me here is a good friend of mine, William Strickler. But what I do is I'm in entertainment. I live and work in New York. I have a radio program myself. It's called The World of Jazz on Tuesday nights in New York. I'm on the staff of a Pure Jazz Magazine, where we produce a magazine. Both of these businesses are 20 years old. And I also am part of Tremendous Media, which is our television company. And we start producing our first feature programs 32 days from today.
So, Dwight, recently Prince died. Can you give us your take on that? Or let's talk about the music business. You've been in the music business going back to the 60s. And
Correct.
How was the
tell too many people
changed?
that. Say again?
He said he didn't tell too many people that one.
Yeah, okay. We won't tell anybody.
You've been in the.
Hey.
Let's just say you've been in for quite a few years. Let's just say.
Let's just say that I have extensive experience.
Tell us about your role in the business all these years.
Well, I'm a producer. I'm a songwriter, performer, general entertainer, and singer, percussionist. I've been doing this for quite a while with some of the best musicians in the world. I've worked with Marvin Gaye, The Main Ingredient, Little Anthony and the Imperials, Carlos Garnett, just to name a few. A very diverse group of entertainers. Over the years, I've specialized in Caribbean jazz. And so that's what I do as a musician, and that led me to all these other places. But I like to say I also had a dual career as a communications specialist, and that's what brought Will Strickler and I together. And we've been working together ever since, and that's how I got on the show. And that's a little background about me. You said something about Prince?
Yeah.
Prince was one of the most exciting entertainers that ever walked the planet. What he had that made him special, he had his own unique style. Do you realize Prince is the only musician ever who had his own color?
What do you mean by had his own color?
Well, the color purple was associated with Prince in his movie, Purple Rain. So if our listeners haven't seen Purple Rain, stop right now what you're doing. See if it's on Netflix. See if you can get that. You need to see Purple Rain. Purple Rain, you'll understand Prince. Prince also was a prolific producer. He did scores of records that he did not put his name Prince on. Also, Prince had the opportunity to change the record business, which he did, by using a symbol to represent himself instead of a name. And he did that because, the best of my knowledge, I understand the deal to be that he wanted out of his contract with Warner Brothers, and they gave him the titles and the amount of master recordings to make albums they wanted from him. And they thought it would take him 3 years to make it, or 4 years to make it. And where they were smug in what they said, Prince sent him one of his aides down to the trunk of the car, and he come in and put it on the table and had his lawyer, here's the contract for the release. That's why he had trouble with Warner Brothers.
That's an interesting story. A lot of people didn't know why he changed his name to a symbol. They just thought he was being like Strange Prince, like, you know, it's over.
Oh, no. They had locked his name in. He said, this is the name I'm born with, but he couldn't make records under his name. Even though he had brought in everything they asked for a release, they still wouldn't release him.
This is quite interesting. And of course, he was a brilliant guy, a brilliant performer.
Of course.
Anyone that has ever seen him live would attest to that. Did you ever get to see Prince live?
Absolutely, with Esperanza Spalding when they came up to New York in Rutherford, New Jersey. And I'd like to add that one of the ways Prince got away with the record business, that he still had an extensive live performance touring schedule. So he bundled his recording into the touring money. So when you purchased a ticket, you also bought his record, and that constituted sales. So he could operate outside of the record business. And that was the beginning of the end. Napster did the rest.
We got Dwight Brewster here on the line with us at American Roundtable. More in just a moment. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. We do politics, we also do entertainment, and just about anything we want, right, Will?
That's right.
Dwight Brewster's back with us. He's telling us about Prince. I was a Prince fan. I think you were as well, right?
Yeah, the guy was unbelievable.
Dwight, you had an occasion to meet Prince early on. Tell us about that.
Well, I like that term when you say meet Prince, because I never actually met him. What it was is that the company I was working for was affiliated with CBS, wanted to evaluate him, and we were told to meet him at the studio. And we worked on staff there. So we were in the studio waiting. About 15 minutes later, some guys came in, tuned all the instruments, sat down. Prince walked in, played all the instruments, sang all the parts to one tune, and he walked out when he was finished. He never said hello, goodbye. He just looked at me and nodded his head and left. And believe me, I was impressed, but he signed with Warner Brothers anyway.
But so he came in basically to audition for you guys. Is that what it was?
I wouldn't call it audition, because when you make it that far, we thought we were going to evaluate some of his master recordings. That's why we were in the studio.
Okay.
And talk to him and get a feel for what he actually wanted. And we never had that conversation, is my point. He controlled everything. And that conversation never was had. He never said that word.
He just came in, played his stuff, nodded, and left.
And left. Yes, that's exactly
well,
what
he had a mystique about
That's the
him,
best of my recollection.
Yeah,
now, he might have talked to somebody else, but that's with me.
He had a mystique about him, though, even from early on.
Absolutely.
He was a very private guy. He didn't do a lot of interviews. But when
that's one of the reasons why he stayed in Minneapolis, so he didn't have to go through any of that.
Right.
He had his own compound there, and the Hollywood thing didn't fly there.
No, he was very planted and down to earth, I guess, when it came to that. He didn't want to deal in the nonsense that sometimes happens in the bigger cities, New York and L.A.
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot of places famous for that now, but I always thought it was a mentality more than a place.
What do you think? What do you think about his legacy? What do you think about Prince's legacy? What do you see?
I said that at the beginning of this conversation about Prince. He's one of the greatest performers of all time, like Muhammad Ali used to say. The greatest of all time. He's up there with the best.
But
because of his impact on the music business. Other guys were flashier, but remember I said Prince was prolific at making records. Not all of them had his name on it. Sometimes he worked under a different assumed name, producing a multitude of recordings. That's why he has a vault full of stuff. That means he lived in the studio. I read something said he had maybe 12 albums of new material in the vault he had never released. He was saving for what? Maybe now.
Yeah, some of the songs that I've seen that he had written were for Sinead O'Connor, the Bangles.
There you go.
And, he's
Stevie
out
Nicks. I know he wrote stuff for Stevie Nicks. And he did a lot of stuff that he didn't even perform. He just wrote for others.
He just wrote for stuff or produced the records on them. That's why I said he was such a prolific guy. I mean, Michael Jackson wrote a lot of records and produced a lot of records, but nothing on the scale of Prince.
Yeah, one thing talking about Prince's abilities, when I was reading about him the last few days, both his mom and his father were both jazz artists. So
correct. That's my understanding, too. Again, not having only secondhand information, and from news reports, it's very difficult. I think he went out of his way so he could move around as anonymously as possible. And I think he did a pretty good job of that, because he did a lot of things we don't know about, finding out now.
Well, a lot of people are talking about his charitable endeavors.
I've heard about that too. And he was very prolific and spent multi-millions helping other people for causes I guess he believed in. And I think all artists should do that. Unfortunately, not enough do. And, imagine how many would be around if they had invested their idle time in philanthropy instead of drugnopoly.
The party scene and all that.
That's what we call drugnopoly. It's a monopoly of
the drugnopoly. Dwight Brewster is with us talking about Prince, talking about music, and we're very happy to have him on. We'd love to have you on again. Get some final words from you as well. Calling from New York City, and we're happy to have him on the American Roundtable.
Yeah, probably next time we'll do a Skype and you actually see that handsome face of Dwight Brewster.
I'd appreciate it. No problem. I'm in my studio right now, so it's a great place for that.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to American Roundtable. Politics and music is unusual. Straight Talk Zone with me and Will Strickler. Will, so glad you brought Dwight in to talk with us. He's quite an interesting guy. Dwight from New York City. Where do you live in New York City?
New York City's good enough.
Yeah,
it's a very big city. I just read in read a little bit product, I had thought that was incredible that New York was so large, the city was so large, it was bigger, had more population, more income than 40 of the 50 states.
Oh yeah, that's where the money is. I was born in Brooklyn originally, and I lived.
Oh, great! Look at you.
But now I'm now, of course, down here in Florida. But
I know about Florida.
I do like to go to Brooklyn every so often in Manhattan and see some old folks and some old friends. But tell us a little bit more about your career. You said you worked with Marvin Gaye. I'd like to.
Yeah, I was with CBS, and we were assigned to Marvin Gaye. I worked with a lot of different people, but that was the era quite a while back. I also worked with Robin Kenyatta. I went on a jazz tour with him. We did 40 cities, and on that tour, I got a chance to play with Miles Davis, Sonny Stitt.
Wow.
Friends of my father's, Skeeter Best was on the tour. So that was one of the highlights of my career, to be able to go on a jazz tour with my father's friends.
This is great. What do you play? What is your main instrument?
I play piano. I'm a keyboardist. I sing, and I also play drums, but keyboards, and I'm a producer. I create product. I'm a content creator.
And how did you work with Will? You guys did some projects together too, right?
Oh, yes, we did. So tell them about Will.
Yeah, we wrote songs together. It was strange how I met Dwight. I actually was putting in a satellite dish at his apartment complex in 1980, and this guy walks out, and all of a sudden we start talking, and we've been together ever since.
Wow, 36 years, long time.
Gee, why did you like numbers too much for me? What you put doing accounting?
I'm an engineer.
No, and I'm an engineer now, thanks to Will, but I was talking about our friend here. He's the one that said the years. We need to put him in accounting.
I know, and I'm not even that good with numbers, but it's nice to see a friendship go as long as that, though.
Oh yeah, I like Willie. Yeah, we bonded immediately because I had some work. I said I've done this before. He said what? And here we are.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's great to meet you. How do people find out more about Dwight Brewster?
Oh, absolutely. You can visit me at dwightbrewster.com. It's all there. Do you know I got a chance to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange?
Tell us about that.
Yeah, the pictures are there. I'm an engineer, so I've been on GoDaddy a long time, and the chairman of the company noticed my profile and invited me with him to spend the day and ring the bell. And of course I went.
Well, of course. I mean, why not ring the bell, right?
Of course, why not? I mean, it's a once in a lifetime adventure.
Thank you.
So I have a band. I have a band called Dr Mambo and Experience, where I'm playing piano. Nice. And you can also go to drmambo.com. So that's the best way to find me.
drmambo. You have drmambo.com? This is
yes,
incredible. I want to be Dr. Mambo. Who the hell doesn't want to be Dr. Mambo?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right,
I'm also on Facebook, Twitter. I'm around.
I hope to see you in Florida sometime next time you're here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Still have a little family there that I visit from time to time.
All right, Dwight Brewster, thank you for being on American Roundtable. We'll talk to you.
I'd love to be on American Roundtable. I'll see you the next time you want some entertainment news.
Thank you very much.
Dwight. See ya.
Welcome back to the American Roundtable. Great to have your friend Dwight Brewster on. We really like him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of entertaining stories since he's in the entertainment business, and I'm sure that our audience will really enjoy hearing these stories. He's worked with all the big people, Diana Ross, Bette Midler, so Nile Rodgers of Chic.
Let's talk about the cruise to Cuba. You can now cruise to Havana, Will. I'm actually interested in doing that because I've always been intrigued by Havana and by Cuba. The Fathom Madonia is the name of the ship. It's owned by Carnival. This is their social impact brand. And there's a story here. It went into, of course, this week into the harbor. Anna Garcia was actually crying. She went and took this with 700 other people. She hadn't been to Cuba, her mother country, in 48 years. And they were serving Cafe Cubano. They also played music by Tomasito Cruz and the Havana Band, so it all had a very Cuban flair. And I think it's good to open these things up. I think it's about time. And I can't wait to smoke some nice Cuban cigars.
Is that what you're looking forward to smoking now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about Puerto Rico. This is actually a story you really want to pay attention to. They are actually defaulted on $470 million in debt payments. They can't pay it. It's the largest default by Puerto Rico. They've been struggling under the weight of $72 billion in debt. They can't pay the debt payment on the $72 billion. They've been in an economic recession for about 10 years. The reason why they can't declare bankruptcy like Detroit did, because they're not a state. They voted down statehood several years ago. They've done it quite a few times. Their unemployment rate is 12.2%. That's pretty high. It's about double the unemployment rate for the U.S. Poverty rates are highest in the nation. Residents have been leaving the territory in search of jobs and new economic opportunities. Your thoughts?
Well, what do they have other than tourism? How are they going to generate money? How are they?
Well, I mean, they do have a lot of pharmaceutical companies down there, but I think it's just, I think they had something called Section 936, which was tax credits that helped their economy, and once those expired, everything went, you know. And so they have to default. You know, I mean, I consider them basically a state. I mean, they're under the U.S. care and protectorate and all that. So I think we need to see what we can do to help Puerto Rico. I just went to old San Juan. It was a very nice trip, and very nice people. And I think we need to all keep an eye on this, because that's some pretty crushing debt right there.
Well, what's being suggested now to help them, if anything?
Well, they're going to have to do something in Congress, some type of an aid package. I think that's what they're going to have to discuss doing, because how do you get people out from under this? It's just going to keep on crushing their economy. I mean, we don't want Puerto Rico to end up like Haiti or something, you know what I mean? Anyway, that does it for American Roundtable. The time goes by so fast. Thank you so much for joining us on Tough TV. I'm Al Spry.
And I'm Will Strickler.
And we will see you next week.